Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room ahead of this weekend's event, headlined by Alistair Overeem and Walt Harris. Big discrepancy in experience in this one, as you would expect from anybody facing Alistair Overeem. The benefit for Walt Harris is that his last fight was against Alexei Olenek, who's got, I think, maybe more fights. Yeah, he's got more fights than Alistair Overeem. Different kind of fighter, different kind of dangers. But still, a veteran, and Walt Harris was absolutely not intimidated by that at all. And what we've seen from Alexei Olenek recently as well is that he can be quite a handful. If you don't catch him early and hurt him, he's going to keep moving forward. I mean, Verdum had all kinds of problems with him. So I think that somewhat validated Walt Harris's performance against him as well, especially with it being so fast. So what do we know about Walt Harris? He's a great athlete. He's a big, strong, powerful southpaw fighter. Seemingly, when he wants to get after it, most people can't stop him. And that seems to be the case with heavyweights, with a lot of heavyweights. Is that most of them carry that natural knockout power. It's just all about having the confidence and the decision making ability to find your opportunity to land that power. That's where the challenge comes in against Overeem, because Overeem is not Olenek in the way that Olenek is easy to hit. Overeem is going to play the game. He's going to back up. He's going to circle away. He's going to take his time. He's going to do things to frustrate you. He's going to pick you apart from the distance. So the longer this fight goes, the more frustrating it's going to be for Walt Harris, the more susceptible he's going to be to the game of Overeem. If you're a striker like Overeem with the kind of experience that he has, you realize that you only need one punch at this weight class, and that you can deliver that punch at any point in that 25 minutes, and the highlight reel will still be just as dramatic. You don't want to be on the wrong end of a highlight reel, and Alistair Overeem's been at that end of a highlight reel a few times. That's because he does take chances, and he is fighting big punches all the time. You increase your odds of not getting caught with those big punches when you've got a lot of experience, which is why heavyweight, in my opinion, they tend to flourish a bit later in their career. Intelligence, wisdom, experience, it all educates your decision-making process, so you know when to put your face in the way to land your own punches and when not to. When I think of Overeem's better performances, I think of the times when he did take his time. The Miocic performance was great. It was a lot of fun, but it didn't work out well for him. He got after it pretty quickly in that fight. In other times, in other fights when he's got after it, he's been vulnerable, very early as well, and paid for it. Whereas if you go back to the JDS fight, I always remember the Junior Dos Santos fight for Overeem, because it was I started to get frustrated for JDS in that fight, because you could tell Overeem was playing the game. You could tell. I mean, when was that? It was 5 years ago. It was a little while ago. But then you look at his Francis Ngannou fight and his Stipe Miocic fight. They're both first round knockouts. It's sometimes he gets a bit reckless early on. When he's patient, he's very, very dangerous. In the Junior Dos Santos fight, almost entirely through the first round, he was just moving away, backing up, allowing Dos Santos to come to him, not engaging him at all. I mean, it was getting frustrated for Junior Dos Santos. It was getting frustrating for people watching. But Overeem knows the game. He plays it very well. And there's going to be a lot of energy behind Walt Harris coming into this. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the recent, tragedy that he's gone through. You've got to think, what's that like? How does that motivate him coming into fight week? Of course, it's going to motivate him to fight with everything that he's got. Everything that you've got, if that's misdirected, though, it can run you straight onto a flying knee or a big punch. He's got to take his time. He's got to remember that Overeem is a sharpshooter. He's an intelligent fighter that will set traps all day long. And the longer the fight goes, the more he knows your game, the more he's able to set traps up for you, to make you step in the directions that he wants you to step into. And he knows how to finish. This is the other thing you have to remember with Overeem. He's got so many fights on his record and so many finishes and a variety of stuff. Like, he can stop people with strikes, but he's got a hell of a guillotine as well. Something else that Walt Harris has to think about, because the tendency of fighters that are a little reckless and that do come crashing forward is that once they move into range, they tend to bring their head down or they give overhooks. It's one or two things. The recklessness either forces you to go too high or too low. And Overeem, if he gets underhooks, he'll work his own takedowns and ground and pound. He's been working with Curtis Blade since he lost to him. So that's another thing. I'm jumping around here again. That's another thing with Overeem you have to keep in mind, is that, I mean, he's I don't know I don't know how far into his career he is as far as, what is he? He's 39. What's interesting is he shares his birthday with me, which is the day after. So happy birthday to Alistair Overeem for the day after this fight. He's going to be 40 the day after this fight. He's had I don't know how many fights, nearly 60 fights. Most people, when they get to that stage, most people, when they get halfway into that career, they kind of go, okay, this is the fighter that I am now. I'm a kickboxer with some takedown defense and a guillotine, or I'm a wrestler that takes people down and ground and pounds them to rear naked choke, or I'm a subs guy that's my striking's kind of okay. Like, fighters kind of get stuck in the place that they're at. They plateau, they stay there, they level out, and then the game passes them by. The reason Overeem has stayed so active and so relevant is because he's happy to move from one camp to the next. If he thinks that there's a benefit in him being at Jackson Wink, he'll go there. If he sees there's a benefit in him being elsewhere, he'll move on. You know, and this is all around the world as well. This is not just in one country. He will move from one place to the next and keep adding things to his game. He's always been a student, and I've always respected that about him. When he lost to Curtis Blades, the next thing he did was go and train with Curtis Blades. So I expect his takedowns to be better, his ground and pound to be better. I expect him to have learned a lot of the lessons that were effective against him in the Curtis Blades fight, which he can now use against his upcoming opponents. And I do think, you know, he's patient enough to find his way into the clinch and to take him down. And so this goes one of two ways. If Walt Harris closes distance fast, he comes crashing forward. He either gives those underhooks, Overeem gets his takedown, works his ground game, or he comes crashing forward and lowers his level and he runs straight into a guillotine of Alistair Overeem. And then there's the knees as well. You know, there's a variety of stuff that Overeem can use against him. For Walt Harris, it's about finding his opportunities to put his foot on the gas when he's not going to be too vulnerable. He's a great athlete. He's very quick. He's very powerful. So if he does decide to do something and he commits to it, as long as the timing's right, he will do damage to Alistair Overeem. He will hurt him. But that's the trick in this one. It's all about Alistair Overeem using his experience, using his, you know, I mean, the amount of knowledge that you have from those amount of training camps and those amount of fights, the amount of people that he's faced in mixed martial arts as well as kickboxing. Like, he's faced tall southpaw power punchers before that move very quickly. He'll have a selection of ways of how to deal with those people already, and then he'll watch Walt Harris and he'll add a few more things to his game. I do think that the takedowns that he will have been drilling with Curtis Blades are going to give him some confidence in this one, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do see him work some ground and pound in this one, especially because he knows that the longer this fight goes, the more it suits him. The experience that he's got also lends him to manage his energy systems better, and a fighter. So what Walt Harris said, 20 fights. I think Overeem's had, you know, like I said, nearly 60 in MMA as well as all the kickboxing ones as well. There's a calmness that comes with that amount of experience, and it allows you to manage your energy systems well. So you know when you need to rest, when you need to pull back. You also know when your opponent's getting tired because you can see it in them. You can see when they're getting anxious. You can see when they're second-guessing themselves. And Overeem's got lots and lots of games he plays here. I think it's a really tough test for Walt Harris, but you've got to think if he picks up a win over Overeem, that's a hell of a streak he's on. You know, he's making progress very, very quickly in this division. He's got three fights in a row. I mean, beating Spivak in 50 seconds and then moving on straight on to Olenek. He's beaten a prospect and a veteran in his last two fights. It's just all about him going after it and going and getting it and doing it without running onto something dangerous. And that's where a striker like Alistair Overeem comes in. I'm excited for this one. I always like to watch Alistair Overeem fight. I always feel like I'm learning something. I always feel like he catches me off guard with something that he does, and that's where Walt Harris really needs to be on his game and keep his mind, keep his calmness, and not let the big lights in the main event get to him. Enjoy the fights. See you next time.